to affect for millions of Californians shortly as the west coast of America.
On Monday, another desperate search at Mount Shasta in California.
What scientists just found along the west coast could change everything. Beneath the scenic beauty of the U.S. West Coast, something is stirring. In 2025, a series of shocking geological and archaeological discoveries emerged, revealing ancient secrets, rising magma, and deep earth movements that scientists never saw coming. Could this be the start of a tectonic awakening?
You a first look at that very large avalanche on Mount Shasta with walls of snow 60 feet deep. No one was injured.
A magma dome is rising beneath Mount Shasta. In early 2025, USGS monitoring stations detected unusual seismic activity beneath Mount Shasta, California, one of the most iconic volcanoes in the Cascade Range. Ground-based sensors recorded measurable uplift of nearly 2 centimeters over a few weeks, while satellite radar interferometry confirmed that a dome-shaped magma intrusion was forming several kilometers beneath the surface. These changes, while subtle, mirror early warning signs seen in volcanoes that have erupted in the past. Scientists also detected harmonic tremors, low frequency, continuous seismic vibrations that often indicate the movement of molten rock. Geochemical monitoring around fumaroles near the summit detected slight increases in carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide emissions, further supporting the theory that magma is rising from deep within the crust. This event marks the first significant geophysical change at Mount Shasta in decades, and while it does not guarantee an eruption, it strongly suggests the volcanic system is recharging. Emergency preparedness teams have begun reviewing evacuation plans for nearby towns such as Weed and Mount Shasta City. The USGS has raised the volcano's alert level from normal to advisory, and scientists are now conducting frequent overflights and gas measurements to monitor any further changes. What concerns researchers most is that this intrusion could represent a slow, long-term buildup of pressure, potentially culminating in a large explosive eruption similar to Mount St. Helens in 1980. With glaciers covering much of the summit, a sudden eruption could trigger fast-moving lahars or mud flows. Residents and policymakers alike are being urged to stay informed and aware of new updates, as the coming months may prove critical in understanding the volcano's next move. Subsurface fault network found off the Oregon coast. A joint U.S.-Japanese expedition discovered a previously unknown and highly complex network of subsurface faults beneath the Pacific seafloor, located approximately 120 miles west of the Oregon coastline. This discovery was made using deep-sea autonomous vehicles equipped with high-resolution seismic scanners and multi-beam sonar imaging. What they found stunned geologists: a lattice of fracture zones interwoven like a spiderweb, many of which intersect directly with the Cascadia subduction zone, one of the most dangerous seismic areas in North America. The faults range from small microfractures to major faults extending dozens of kilometers, and their proximity to the locked portion of the subduction zone has raised significant concern. Some of these faults appear to act as stress bridges, potentially transferring pressure between segments of the plate boundary. This could help explain irregular tremor patterns that have been observed in the region since the early 2000s, but never fully understood. More alarmingly, researchers have modeled several rupture scenarios using this new fault data, and early simulations suggest the possibility of multi-fault cascades. In such events, a rupture could begin in one fault zone and leap to another, dramatically increasing earthquake magnitude and duration. If these faults were to slip in concert with the Cascadia megathrust, it could produce a quake exceeding magnitude 9.0, unleashing a tsunami capable of devastating coastal cities across the Pacific Northwest. Sediment core samples taken from nearby trenches show evidence of massive turbidity flows, sudden underwater landslides that correspond with ancient quake layers found on shore. This supports the theory that these offshore faults have ruptured violently in the past. The data is now being integrated into updated hazard maps, and emergency response teams in Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia are reviewing tsunami protocols in light of the findings. Scientists emphasize that while the faults have not yet shown imminent signs of rupture, their structural complexity and potential connectivity to Cascadia demand increased surveillance and public awareness. Prehistoric tunnel system uncovered beneath Oregon's lava fields. LiDAR and thermal imaging revealed a vast interconnected system of lava tubes stretching for over 40 miles beneath Oregon's Deschutes National Forest, an area already known for its rich volcanic past. These lava tubes, formed thousands of years ago during high-volume basaltic eruptions, create an expansive subterranean labyrinth beneath the surface. What shocked researchers wasn't just the size and extent of these tubes, but what was found inside them. During several expeditions in early 2025, archaeologists and volcanologists discovered clear signs of ancient human activity. Charcoal fragments, tool-like obsidian flakes, and patterns etched into the basalt walls suggest that indigenous peoples entered these tunnels, possibly using them for shelter, rituals, or seasonal navigation. Some of the charcoal remains have been radiocarbon dated to nearly 8,000 years ago, making them some of the earliest known signs of deep volcanic cave exploration in North America. Even more mysterious are the carvings. Found in isolated chambers, they consist of spirals, animal-like figures, and symbols never before seen in regional petroglyph sites. While some researchers believe these symbols may reflect early spiritual or mythological traditions, others speculate they could mark navigation routes or seismic memories passed down through generations. From a geological standpoint, the tunnels provide rare access to unweathered lava layers and undisturbed volcanic deposits. This is allowing scientists to better understand the eruptive history of the region and how past lava flows behaved underground. Some tubes show signs of reactivation, such as faint thermal gradients and gas traces, suggesting magma may still be migrating far below. This discovery has prompted renewed interest in ancient volcanology and indigenous history. Local tribes are now working with researchers to interpret the carvings and trace cultural connections to oral histories. The Deschutes lava tubes are not only a geological marvel, they may also rewrite what we know about prehistoric life in the volcanic Pacific Northwest. Seismic swarm detected beneath Mount Rainier. In February 2025, Mount Rainier, an iconic stratovolcano in Washington state, became the focus of intense scientific attention. Over the course of just 7 days, more than 700 low-frequency earthquakes were detected deep beneath its glacial slopes. These tremors, known as long-period events, are often associated with the movement of fluids such as magma or superheated water within a volcano's plumbing system. While small in magnitude, their clustering and rhythmic patterns raised immediate red flags for volcanologists. The swarm was centered between 3 to 7 kilometers beneath the volcano's northeastern flank, close to the Emmons Glacier. GPS sensors also recorded minor ground inflation in the region, and satellite interferometry confirmed a subtle uplift pattern stretching several kilometers. In response, the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network increased surveillance and coordinated with the USGS to install temporary seismometers and gas sensors near known fumaroles and hot springs. Gas sampling revealed a small but statistically significant increase in carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide emissions, gases typically released during magmatic movement. Meanwhile, thermal imaging flights showed new hotspots developing near the summit, though still far below eruptive thresholds. Scientists believe the activity could be due to a new batch of magma slowly intruding into the crust, or reactivation of an existing hydrothermal system under pressure. This isn't the first time Rainier has shown seismic swarming, but the 2025 episode stands out for its intensity and duration. Historical records suggest such events can precede both phreatic explosions and magmatic eruptions, particularly when paired with gas changes and deformation. Rainier's high-altitude glaciers pose an added risk. Any sudden eruption or flank collapse could unleash devastating lahars down river valleys, threatening communities like Orting and Puyallup. Though the alert level remains at normal, scientists are urging local agencies to review emergency procedures. The recent swarm may not lead to an eruption, but it's a reminder that Mount Rainier is far from dormant. Giant coastal landslide zone identified in Northern California. New geological mapping conducted in early 2025 near Eureka, California, has exposed a massive and potentially hazardous slow-moving landslide zone stretching across more than 10 square miles. This zone lies within a rugged coastal terrain composed of unstable sedimentary rock layers that have been weakened over millennia by tectonic activity and relentless Pacific Ocean erosion. Scientists from the California Geological Survey used aerial and satellite-based radar interferometry to detect subtle surface movements that had previously gone unnoticed. The landslide zone is not a single, unified mass, but a complex series of overlapping blocks, some of which are moving several centimeters per year. The area's movement is currently classified as creeping, but simulations suggest that under certain conditions, such as a strong earthquake or extreme rainfall, the entire zone could fail catastrophically. If such a collapse were to occur rapidly, it could displace millions of cubic meters of earth into the adjacent Matole River and Pacific Ocean, generating a powerful local tsunami and debris-laden floodwater. Researchers were especially alarmed to find that the landslide appears to overlie an ancient rupture zone that may have been reactivated during past subduction earthquakes along the Cascadia subduction zone. Soil samples from the toe of the slope revealed buried layers of organic debris and marine sediment, evidence of previous collapses triggered by seismic activity. Nearby communities, including Ferndale and Petrolia, could be in the path of potential lahars, debris flows, and flash flooding in the event of sudden failure. As a result, emergency planners are now developing early warning systems based on satellite data and ground-based motion sensors. Evacuation routes are being reviewed, and public awareness campaigns have been launched to educate residents on the signs of an accelerating slide. Although the landslide is not currently accelerating, scientists stress the importance of monitoring the region closely. The discovery is a sobering reminder that California's threats are not limited to faults and fires. Some of the most dangerous risks may be hidden in plain sight. Ancient, submerged settlement found off Oregon's coast. In a remarkable underwater discovery in 2025, marine archaeologists exploring the Oregon coast used high-resolution sonar and sub-bottom profilers to map an ancient land surface now submerged nearly 40 feet beneath the Pacific Ocean. What they found astonished both archaeologists and geologists alike. Evidence of a 9,000-year-old settlement that once stood on dry land before post-Ice Age sea level rise swallowed it whole. Stone foundations arranged in circular and rectangular patterns suggest the presence of dwellings or communal spaces. Scattered around these formations were fire pits filled with charcoal and bone, traces of ancient meals or rituals. Handcrafted tools made of obsidian, bone, and shell were also recovered, many still partially buried in marine sediment. Radiocarbon dating of charcoal and organic material suggests the site was occupied for several centuries during the early Holocene period. The find dramatically shifts the timeline of human habitation along the West Coast and raises new questions about coastal migration routes. It also supports theories that early North American populations settled near river mouths and coastal plains now hidden beneath the sea. The region was likely a rich estuarine environment before being inundated by rising sea level, triggered by glacial melt and isostatic rebound. Researchers believe this is just the beginning. The settlement appears to be part of a much larger submerged landscape, possibly a prehistoric village network that stretched for miles. Multi-beam sonar scans hint at additional buried structures farther offshore, prompting plans for more detailed underwater excavations. This discovery also has implications for tsunami research. Volcanic gas signatures detected near Lassen Peak. In early 2025, airborne spectrometers flying over Northern California's Lassen Volcanic Center recorded a notable increase in sulfur dioxide, SO2, and carbon dioxide, CO2, emissions. These volcanic gases, which typically signal the movement of magma or changes in subsurface pressure, were detected in concentrations several times higher than background levels. The observations triggered a rapid response by the USGS, which sent ground teams and drones to the area to investigate further. Though no visible deformation or seismic swarms had been reported at the surface at the time, the persistent and elevated gas release indicated that magma may be degassing at depth, potentially collecting in a chamber beneath the volcano. CO2 levels, in particular, are critical to monitor because this gas escapes magma earlier than SO2 and can build up pressure in confined underground spaces. The presence of both gases together is a red flag. Thermal cameras detected slight warming in hydrothermal vents and fumaroles, especially around the Bum Pass Hell area, a well-known geothermal hotspot within the Lassen region. While the changes were modest, they were enough to prompt increased monitoring of surface temperature trends and steam vent chemistry. Scientists collected fluid samples and measured pH shifts, which showed increased acidity, another sign of new magmatic gas mixing with groundwater. Historically, Lassen Peak last erupted in 1915, producing lava domes, pyroclastic flows, and ash plumes. For now, Lassen remains quiet, but the breath of magma beneath it is becoming harder to ignore. Prehistoric carvings found after Washington landslide. In early 2025, a powerful winter landslide near the Columbia River Gorge unearthed a series of previously hidden rock carvings buried beneath layers of silt and forest debris. As emergency crews and geologists worked to assess the slope's stability, archaeologists were called in to examine several large boulders that had tumbled free, and what they found left experts stunned. Etched into the exposed rock surfaces were intricate carvings depicting spirals, wave-like forms, and human figures arranged in apparent ceremonial poses. Unlike known indigenous petroglyphs in the Pacific Northwest, these markings bore stylistic traits not previously cataloged in regional archives. Carbon dating of adjacent organic material and analysis of weathering patterns suggest the carvings are at least 2,500 to 3,500 years old, placing them among the oldest cultural artifacts ever found in Washington state. One of the most compelling theories is that the carvings serve as a visual record of past geological disasters. Some of the wavy symbols and jagged lines strongly resemble tsunami wave patterns, earthquake ruptures, and land fissures, possibly representing collective memories of megaquakes from the Cascadia subduction zone. If true, this would indicate that ancient communities not only experienced such cataclysmic events, but sought to immortalize them in stone as a warning or cultural transmission. Other symbols appear more spiritual, potentially linked to rituals or seasonal cycles associated with geological phenomena. Hidden Rift Valley, detected in Southern California. Inland, Southern California is revealing new tectonic secrets. A 2025 study using deep earth tomography uncovered a buried rift-like depression stretching several dozen kilometers between the San Andreas and San Jacinto faults. While invisible at the surface, seismic imaging showed crustal thinning and low velocity zone, signs of stretching and possible magma presence. Traditionally considered a compressive zone, the region may now be experiencing tectonic extension, possibly marking the birth of a new fault boundary. Elevated helium isotopes in groundwater and slight east-west surface spreading detected via satellite reinforce the theory of deep mantle influence. Some models suggest this feature could evolve into a pull-apart basin over thousands of years. Unusual heat pulse detected beneath the Olympic Peninsula. Thermal satellite imaging in early 2025 revealed a broad geothermal anomaly beneath Washington's Olympic Mountains, raising eyebrows in the scientific community. The 50-kilometer-wide hotspot is centered beneath the range's eastern side and has shown persistent infrared emissions for several weeks. Micro-earthquakes and elevated helium isotope levels in nearby springs suggest deep mantle activity. Magnetotelluric surveys indicate a low resistivity zone 15 to 25 kilometers below the surface, likely containing molten rock or fluids. Although the region has no known history of active volcanism, researchers are considering whether a dormant system may be stirring. Indigenous oral traditions and past tree ring anomalies hint at earlier thermal episodes. While no eruptions are expected soon, authorities have ramped up monitoring and may initiate a geothermal hazard assessment. The anomaly's origin remains uncertain, but its presence is a reminder that even geologically quiet zones can surprise us. Is the West Coast waking up? Let us know what you think. Is this a series of isolated discoveries, or are we seeing the early signs of a massive geological shift? Leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe to stay updated on the Earth's most mysterious movements.